Me to read?
Jai Baba, you can get started with how to love God. It's on the screen.
Yes. Jai Meher Baba. How to love God. To love God in the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. 1. If instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. 2. If instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. 3. If we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. 4. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think of ourselves more fortunate than many, many others, we are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God. 6. If we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, we are loving God. 7. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of all life is to love God and find Him as our own self. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Amen. Baba ki jai. Thank you, Ashok. And I think um, we are coming back to nothing and everything. But if you recollect where we left it on Sunday, end of read, at Sunday end of read, we were having a discussion around Nirvana and Nirvikalpa Samadhi because that was the poem that we read. So, uh, Ashok, we spoke over the week. Was there any progress on getting those?
I'll come back tomorrow. We'll have a discussion offline.
Oh, okay, no problem. So, do you want to defer that discussion to tomorrow and
Yeah,
continue with the read?
better because I got the references, but I need some editing to be done. Maybe I'll think
Okay,
of help and then how we can proceed on that.
okay. Uh, Ravi, anything from your side, or we just pick it up tomorrow and continue reading now? Jai Baba Ravi, I just saw you jump in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just logged in.
No, no, no. So I was
What is
just
the question?
saying, yeah. I was saying last time we agreed
Yeah,
to get to the bottom of Nirvana. Get to the bottom of what am I saying? I'm so corporate.
bottom.
get to
Okay.
get, get, get to the reality of Nirvana and Nirvikalpa Samadhi as explained by Baba. And towards that end, we briefly read the supplement, right? The God Speaks supplement
God speaks.
278.
Right.
And what we decided to do over the course of the week was to find all references to Nirvana in DAGs, that is both in discourses and God Speaks. Make it an
Mm.
exercise where we get to the bottom of it, and at the end of it, if you're able to tabulate our learning, at least we are institutionalizing as a group our understanding and our consistent interpretation of multiple references to this across Baba literature. Like
Mm.
we had those doubts:
Mm.
existence of body, no existence of body, inevitability. Is there nirvikalpa for everyone who goes through nirvana? And what is nirvana state? What is nirvikalpa? So I think that is what we were trying to do. And Ashok and I spoke briefly. I did not work on it right through the week, but Ashok did work on it. So I just wanted to check if we are ready to share. But he says he needs another day. So maybe we take it up tomorrow,
What
given
I
that
mean,
there's
what
work
is the?
done.
We already have discussed few times, and I
Yeah,
remember
but
to have
the fact,
given a presentation. It's very simple. I don't know why we are revisiting again and again. I think
maybe it's simple.
individually we have
Let me
to.
stop you there. Let me stop you there. So yeah, maybe it's a absorption problem individually, or it's a confusion in few of our minds. So go ahead, Ravi. You say what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a confusion, we have to work on it and
individually.
individually read and I mean, how to say this? Yeah, I mean, we have to, as a spiritual workers, we have to understand each aspect very clearly. That way, we don't revisit it again and again. And
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it
So
takes, yeah, whatever it takes. And nirvana is nothing but from the sixth plane, we step into the seventh plane. And in that process, perfect master clears all the mind. And the mind becomes universal. We experience vacuum, divine vacuum. And as simple as that. And then that state precedes the God realization. It may be 2 or 3 days when the human being
72
is in
hours.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, God realization. And what is God realization? You feel one with every entity in this universe. You have infinite knowledge. You experience infinite bliss. And you have knowledge. Because you have knowledge, you are very powerful. You have all the power. And because you have knowledge and power, you experience blissful state. There's nothing that you need. That's why you experience the purity of the state of God. As simple as that. And yeah, I mean, just because I understood doesn't mean that other people should also understand. We try to help everybody. We are all going in a group. So,
I
but
just
but the thing is, if we individually we don't work on it and then come back and again ask, hey, what is this nirvana? Again, that's a waste of time for all of us. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Understood. I think your point is well received. We have to individually also keep up with the group progress, and but given multiple people would like this clarity, let's do this one time. And I will also post on the Telegram group your last presentation on the on Nirvana Nirvikalpa, the video, so that people can go back and take a look at it and see if that helps. And
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
see what Ashok has to do. Ashok, you were saying something.
sure.
yeah, I'm saying that there's a little bit of um diversion, or let's say something incongruity between page 250 of discourses and what is mentioned in God Speaks. So I got the references. Um, what I'll do is that I will put it into all the pages into a presentation. Let everybody also read, because and then we can come to a discussion. Is that a good way to go ahead, or
Yeah, that's
Ashok,
also a good way.
Why don't you give a presentation what you think?
okay, okay, and I would request everybody to read page 250. That's meditation, chapter 8 of uh, discourses,
Mid
along with
discourse.
references in God Speaks. It's all given in the end. The which
Mhm.
pages are dealing with nirvana, which pages are dealing with nirvana samadhi, and um, so it's there all in the God Speaks. So I'll try to put it up into some sort of a presentation.
Okay, so with that, let's go to the mischievous chicken. Uh, right. So we'll start reading the mischievous chicken. It's page 9. Yeah, page 9 of Nothing and Everything. So let's get started. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. The mischievous chicken. Before the beginningless beginning, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. But there was a hen. This hen had countless chickens, which she protected and sheltered under her wings, and she did not allow even one chicken to go out from under them. Countless eons passed by, but no chicken ventured out from the mother hen. Not one chicken knew how to get out, and not one thought of going out. Among the innumerable chickens, there was one who was very mischievous. One morning, he felt fed up with living under the wings of his mother all the time, and he dared to venture out. The mischievous one tried to work his way out from under his mother's wings. He struggled, and when he finally got out, he saw a dazzling light. But the light frightened him so much that he could not bear to look at it. His mother, the hen, was also frightened because she did not like any of her chickens to venture out. She wanted the chicken to come back, and he, being so frightened, came back quickly under her wings. So the mother felt happy to see him safe and secure, and the imp felt happy to be safe again. But after some incalculable time, being so mischievous, destined to become the most mischievous, this small little rascal again crept out from under his mother's wings, and the same phenomenon happened. The little chick saw a great dazzling light, but this time the color of the light was different. After gazing at it momentarily, he again became frightened, and the chicken took refuge quickly under the safety of the wings. The mother hen was again happy because her chick was safely under her wings again. Though the hen did not want him to go out, the chicken was so mischievous that he went out again and again, 6 times in all. Each time he saw different colors of dazzling light. 6 times he was frightened by the light he faced, and each time the mother was frightened for him, and so he would return to her. The mother always took him back under her wings each time he returned, but after the 6th time, she finally began to feel that this one particular chicken was very mischievous indeed. Pained, she felt that if he ventured out again, perhaps she would no longer care about him or for him. In spite of everything, the mischievous rascal went out from under the hen's wings for the 7th time. Again, he saw the light, and again, it was different, but this light had no color. Light was there without color. The mischievous one was afraid and felt he could not bear it, the darkness. But after some time, he decided that somehow the best thing to do would be to try to go on. So he did, and he kept on going till until he could never return. The imp would have gone on further, but suddenly he began to feel hungry. So he cried out, "What is there for me to eat?" Instantly, imagination itself appeared out of the gas before him and said, "Why do you worry? I am here. Eat. Eat as much of me as you like." Hearing this, the mischievous chicken felt very happy and began eating imagination, whereby this troublemaker went on to have 14 imaginary adventures through every lane and by lane. The rascal had one adventure after another and went on eating and eating until the 7th adventure, when he found himself to be a man, eating all the things that he should not have eaten. It was he who ate the things that ought not to have been eaten. He was the most mischievous because that which ought not to have been eaten, he ate, and he ate them all. And because of his mischievous nature, he sometimes felt happy and sometimes miserable. However, when he began the 8th adventure, he felt less and less hungry, and so he ate less and less imagination. The further along he went, that is inward, and less hunger he felt, which is suffered, and the less quantities of imagination he ate, by eating smaller and smaller quantities of less and less imagination, he entered the 13th adventure. Here, at the final turn of the lane, when he finally saw himself for what he was, he no longer hungered for imagination in any form. So all imagination left him alone. Then the mischievous chicken cried out, "What should I do now?" And a voice said, "Eat, eat yourself." He had no choice but to eat, so he ate himself. At that, at that moment, he found that he was everything, everything that is knowledge, power, and bliss. At that moment, though, during his realization, when he looked around, he found that all the innumerable chickens who had been under the wings of the mother hen had followed him out. As he, the most mischievous, looked at them, he took pity on them. At that moment, when pity fell upon him, the burden of responsibility for all those other chickens fell upon the mischievous one, for they were all his brothers and sisters, and he was the one who had played the mischief. Now he knew, so he had to feel pity. This one has to come back age after age to look after those innumerable chickens, and he suffers for them. He can never be free from this responsibility because it is all his fault. The journey of the first drop of nothing out of the ocean of nothing through the worlds of illusion to know itself as everything is the journey of the mischievous chicken. It has the meaning as the same it has the same meaning as the journey of the first soul who realized himself to be God. The mother hen is the nothing from which all the innumerable drops of nothing, which are chickens, came. And in the very beginning, one drop left the shelter of ignorance and began imagining. The first soul journeyed out of the nothing from the beyond into the worlds of imagination. He left unconsciousness from which all nothings, that is the drops, come. As the first drop felt frightened, so did the nothing, the hen. Nothing is ignorance, unconsciousness, and so it perfectly reflected the drop's pain and fear upon facing its imaginings. Consequently, nothing, which had never felt anything because it was unconscious, felt pain and pleasure, fear and safety as the first drop through aeons and eons of time, made his journeys out and back to it. The first imagining was so finite, so very fine, that it cannot actually be termed an imagining. I will stop here, maybe just to take any questions or any thoughts. Um, I hope everybody's following the flow of the mischievous chicken and the analogous reference to Baba himself, because that's what it is. He is the mischievous chicken that has come out from ignorance, and he has gone through these experiences, and his fraternal feeling for the rest of the hens, rest of the chickens rather, makes him come back again and again. Right? Any? Yeah, go ahead.
The first reference of seven trying to come out
Attempts.
and then seeing different colors and the light, white light at the end. So that is what is that needs to be clearly understood. And then the 14 journeys afterwards that we need to understand. So any inputs from people?
So, Mamaji, it refers to the evolution and the involution. That's my understanding.
That's the 14, but his question is about the colors, the seven
Yeah.
colors before gas. Because if you look at what happens after the colors, is that's the beginning of imagination. And in fact, he says gas offers itself to be eaten, and it itself is nothing but imagination.
Yeah.
So what
I
are
think
the colors?
if I remember right, I think the answer will be in the future pages. In the, I think is clearly explained in the. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was explained. It is explained in the in the pages that come through.
Okay.
Okay,
So
and we can
let's
wait.
go right through to the end and then of course pick it up again.
So the
Requesting
14
again.
refers to evolution, 7 steps of evolution and 7 steps of involution. 14. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. In fact, the drop's second venture out of the nothing produced only the seed of imagination, Brahmand. So, how very fine, how subtle and imagining was the first venture. The first light, yeah, there you go. The first light imagined by the mischievous chicken on his first venture was the original fire, Tej. The 6 successive lights that dazzled him were the mental and subtle forms of gases, the fires and gases of the mental and subtle planes, not the gases man knows with his gross senses, like hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. The first imagining or the seed of imagination, being so very fine, was the white light containing all color. The 7 successive colors that dazzled the mischievous chicken were the mental color and the subtle color, containing all colors of that pure color. The 7 pure colors of the dazzling lights were blue, purple, indigo, green, yellow, orange, and red. The gross colors that bear these colors' resemblance are shadows of these pure colors. This means that within the mental and subtle color of the pure blue were contained all shades of blue, and that pure blue itself was what dazzled the chicken.
Yeah,
When
that's
the
the answer. Now I kind of recollecting what I read before. See, when we go involution, we go from gross plane to subtle plane. We go through this first, second, third, fourth, and then we go through the mental plane. And from the mental plane, we realize the God, right? That is what we understood in the God speaks. Now, what this mischievous chicken, that is God himself, the avatar that is coming, he has to take the same path. First, he has to go through the mental plane, and then subtle plane, and then come to the gross plane. But the only problem is the people in the different planes are evolved and understood what they are being in that planes, experience the planes. But on the other side of the circle, they just are there. That's it. Even though they are in the mental plane, they don't know what they're experiencing. It's very, very subtle and very grossest of the gross. They are there, but they don't have any experience of the mental plane or subtle plane. And then they come to the gross plane. That is what I remember.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
When the chicken ventured out for the 7th time, he saw a dazzling light. But this time the light had no color. He saw the gross world for the first time. The light that surrounds us has no color as pure light because it is gross. The oxygen, air itself, is colorless. This gross light only reflects color. The yellow color is the physical eye perceives. The yellow color the physical eye perceives of the sun's reflection. Requesting muting of all the mics, please. The yellow color the, 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 the physical eye perceives of the sun's reflection is the 277th shade of the subtle color yellow one perceives on the 4th plane, Surya Loka, or the world of the sun. All creation was imagined by the first drop, and one by one, the first drop faced his imaginings. Thus, drop by drop, all creation emerged into consciousness as the ocean of nothing, infinite unconsciousness. On the chicken's seventh adventure out from the nothing, he imagined the gross world, the universe. Here, imagination was gross and concrete, very low and dense, very solid and thick. In the gross world, the form of the first drop changed. From this point onward, the influence of the nothing diminished, meaning he attained individual and separate consciousness. The first gross form began to progress in imagination through seven stages of evolution, from stone to human form, and through the subtle and mental planes of involution, having 14 adventures before realizing himself. As the first soul adventured in consciousness, he imagined numberless things, phenomena, and the desires created by and fulfilled through his imaginings. Hunger naturally grew greater and greater, and with more intensity until he was in human form. On the first subtle plane of involution, the eighth adventure as the first subtle conscious man, his desires became less and less until finally he reached the sixth plane, the 13th adventure as the mental conscious man, when all desire left him. The first drop lost all desire, and when he did, his realization began. It is only the first drop, known as the Ancient One, who realized himself alone at the end of his journey. He is the only one who ever did or ever will realize himself to be God by himself. The drop souls, Jivatmas, that ever follow after him require his divine help or a perfect masters in order to be able to do the impossible, that is, to eat themselves. The mischievous chicken, known as Saitan Murgi Ka Bacha, who is none else but the Ancient One, gives his grace to all, one by one, drop after drop, knowing the journey from beginning to end. It is only he and the perfect masters that give countless chickens knowledge, gyan of real everything. His grace comes from knowing the entire journey of everyone, each mischievous chicken like himself, and his grace is always in the form of knowledge. In the ocean, God is infinite everything and infinite nothing. Everything is infinite knowledge, and the nothing is infinite ignorance. Infinite nothing is limited within infinite everything. Infinite nothing is so infinitely linked to infinite everything that it appears that both are one and the same, but they are not. There is an infinite difference between everything and nothing. Nothing is the opposite of everything. Everything is infinite, and therefore the opposite of infinite is limitation. But the nothingness of nothing is infinite, because nothing is the infinite shadow of everything. Since shadow is without substance, shadow is limited, but the expansion of the shadow is infinite. This infinite expanse is the pasara, an infinite spread out, infinitely spreading out. Infinite
What is
everything is it? Yeah,
what is this pasara?
no idea.
Expansion.
I don't even recognize.
Probably infinite expansion. The Big Bang Theory.
Correct, but
Goes on expanding. Sarah.
But then, is there a
Searching in the Google.
language? Yeah, I don't find anything.
Yeah,
So is it Sanskrit?
it's Hindi. Pasara means spread.
Ah, okay. Perfect. Perfect. There you go. Pasarna. Okay. Yeah, Pasarna. Got it. Thanks, Ashok. So yeah, it's akin to the spread of the scientific explanation of Big Bang theory. Agreed. That's a good panel. I continue. Infinite everything is infinite truth, reality, and infinite nothing is infinite divine shadow, which is illusion. Though nothing and everything are linked together as if one, their qualities are absolutely opposite, and there is an infinite difference between them, since one is everything and the other is nothing. Nothing is like the air around you, it is empty. The nothing has no substance, and because it is without substance, it is always susceptible to whims, movements, winds, desires. Everything does not ever have whims at any time. It is full. The whim, the original lahar, which the nothing has no substance. And because it is substanceless, nothing's whim asks, who am I? Who am I? Why? Because nothing is without substance, no identity. Since nothing is without substance, its questions are also without substance, meaningless and insignificant, and therefore its questions make no sound. These questions asked by the nothing, who am I? Who are you? Are asked by shadows. Insubstantial nothings, shadows giving signs, and the shadows ask through movements. Just give me 1 second. Because of these movements, in the beginning time, everything woke up and asked through words, who am I? The impact infinite words, who am I, was so infinitely great that the reaction to the question not only fell upon itself, but also fell upon its infinite shadow as well. Because of that momentum of the impact of that word, innumerable drops of everything and nothing acquired movement in the ocean. There exists two oceans of everything and nothing, but they are one originally. The ocean of everything is indivisible as divine knowledge, and the ocean of nothing is also indivisible as divine ignorance. In the ocean of everything, although there are innumerable drops, souls, they are always one soul, and in the ocean of nothing, there are also innumerable drops, minds, which are always one as well, from the beginning to the end. It's an important, there's an interesting distinction brought out between everything and nothing. So, in the nothing, there is the divisible nature of the souls, but then he does not call them souls, he calls them innumerable drops, which are minds. In the absence of the minds is where, though you are indivisible, or rather in drop form, you are one. And that's where that is in the everything. That's my inference. I hope that's correct. Therefore, in everything there are innumerable everythings, and in nothing there are innumerable nothings. The original question, the word of words, who am I, came out of the ocean of everything, divine knowledge, and the word comes out of every drop in the ocean of everything. The ocean of nothing, divine ignorance, felt the momentum of that infinite word, and every drop of nothing felt it as well. In response to that word, everything's question, who am I? Every drop in the ocean of nothing began saying in an infinitely limited way, I am nothing, I am everything, through movements in evolution and involution. Nothing is as air, and therefore nothing's expression through movements, I am nothing, I am everything, is only air imagining. The resultant air is as gas, and therefore as the expression of nothing as I am nothing, I am everything, produces only gas imagination. The nothing and the everything are together in one ocean. They are not two separate oceans. The drops of everything and the drops of nothing are actually drops of one ocean. But being so different, the ancient one speaks of them as the drops of the ocean of everything and the drops of the ocean of nothing. Nothing is contained in everything, and the ocean of nothing is contained in the ocean of everything. But its distinctive nothingness is emphasized. That is, although it is nothing, it has being, to understand how creation came into being through the nothing. When each drop of the ocean of nothing heard the sound, which was infinite, of each drop of the ocean of everything's word, movement started in the ocean of nothing, and each drop of the ocean of nothing started experiencing that movement. In the beginningless beginning, the nothing began to express itself in an infinitely limited way, and its drops manifested in infinitely limited form. So, in the beginning, the movement of the ocean of nothing was infinitely limited. When nothing first heard the word of everything, it expressed itself as I am nothing, I am everything. When this movement began to gather momentum in the ocean of nothing, each drop in that ocean began saying, I am this, I am that. Thus, innumerable nothings were created by this expression of the drops. I am this, I am that. Every drop then began thinking that it was everything because it was surrounded by these innumerable manifestations of the nothing. The movement went on in the ocean of nothing, and every drop started swirling and whirling, dancing and singing, jumping and flying. That is, its imagination began to gather momentum, and soon, as a result of all this activity, every drop was enveloped by flames and gases, products of imagination. Every drop then felt surrounded by flames and gases and tried to rid itself of the layers of fire and gas. Those who could not escape the fire of Tej stayed in mental form and became archangels. Those who could not escape the gases of Pran stayed in the subtle form and became angels. Those who rid themselves of the fire and gases felt the flames shoot out and the gases explode. Bang! The bang of the gross universe. Atoms consolidating. Chickens, drops, are after all chickens, drops, and nothing else. They are ignorant as such. Consequently, in the very beginning, one mischievous chicken from among all of those innumerable chickens tried to get out from under the mother's hen's wings and escape ignorance. As he began going out and beyond, he encountered flaming gas, the original fire, and he tried to extend his head up through the layers of gas to see if there was something outside of, and beyond the gas. Saitan, as a child, was very curious and mischievous. When he raised his head through the gaseous flames, he saw a dazzling light, and he himself was dazed. That light was the light of the original gas flaming, Tej, and was so brilliant that this original light cannot be compared to the light of millions and millions of suns. The dazed chicken could not face that light and pulled his head back through the gas to the shelter of the mother's wings. After eons and eons, he tried again to put his head up through the gas to see it, and again he encountered more dazzling light, but the color of this light was different. 6 times the mischievous chicken tried to put his face up through the fire and gas to look out, and each time he saw a different color of light, and each time he hid his face from its brilliance. 6 times he was dazed. But finally, when he looked out for the 7th time and saw the light, he did not hide his face. At the 7th time, he was not dazed. So he ventured on. Each time the chicken had looked out, after hiding his face in the mother's wings, the layers of gas would cover him. The mischievous chicken had to tear at these layers of flames. The mischievous chicken had to tear at these layers of flames and gas, trying to penetrate them in order to see clearly. But when he put his head up for the 7th time, the gas became his companion and no longer hindered him. In actuality, the fire transformed into gas, and that gas became energy, Chaitanya. The gas gave him the energy to proceed further. But suddenly, he discovered that he was hungry. This hunger and the need to satisfy it brought about his 14 adventures. Insatiable hunger propelled him, forced him, urged him, all through evolution and involution. The insatiable hunger for knowledge, the intelligence to know who am I. The mother hen did not know pain or pleasure, fear or security in the beginning. But when she found her chick missing for the first time, she was frightened for him. The imp came to know pain and fear through the brilliance of the light, and the mother came to know pain and fear through her concern over the loss of her chick. In the same way, and at the same time, both chick and mother came to feel pain and fear, and both came to feel pleasure and security. The chicken, when he returned to the safety of her wings, and the mother, when she had him back with her again. Each time the chicken ventured out, the hen felt more and more frightened and more pleased when he returned until the 6th time. During the 6th coming and going, she felt extremely frightened at his absence and greatly relieved and pleased at his return. However, during this time, she felt he was very mischievous indeed, and if he went out again, perhaps she would no longer care about him. So when the chicken ventured out for the 7th time, the hen was unaffected and did not worry about him. The mischievous one was on his own, alone without a mother. So is there an analogy to understand here? What happened which is different between the first 6 times and the 7th time? Anybody?
It's in the beginning of the beginning, right? So we just have to take it on a face value. That's what I think. It's not explained anywhere else. But slightly, there is an Upanishad. How the whole world is created from fire, from water to the fire, fire to the Panchabhutas, how they are created, the water and earth and all those things. Somehow I feel some connection with that. But
Yes.
unless I read that Upanishad again, I can't connect it. But it is brought in a very interesting and entertaining way about all these facts.
Anybody else?
No,
Any
it
other?
looks like there is a, say, conceptually we can relate it to the five elements, progression of the five elements, and the combination of the five elements, making the total gross world as we see today. And we have all the elements in our body as parts. So all these concepts try to gel in some way of what Baba is telling here in a very, very mysterious, chickish way.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
So
Let
basically, the
me-
chicken tries to come out 6 times, and it goes back to the original self.
That one is not clear. So I don't know whether we have any reference in Vedic literature about this sort of, say, trying to emerge and going back, trying to emerge next time, going back and all that, and then finally emerging or the Big Bang, and then the whole of creation started off. So that I don't know whether there is any reference. So
In
with
our
all this, I feel there is a lot of things that those who are very, very competent in Vedic literature, if they can come to Baba's fold and then try to relate and then try to give us some links here and there, it would be a nice idea because it looks so very connected.
So I've thought of that too, but yes and no to you, Mama. So what? So we connect it to Vedas. So what? It's still the same. We figure out our journey and move on.
That's only to satisfy our
I don't doubt the
curiosity.
fact that it is.
That's true, Karthik. It's only to satisfy our curiosity.
Yes, that is one
Intellectual
craving of the
mind.
binding that we have to our own source of initial knowledge. That's
exactly. So it is our binding and our ego to connect back Baba to this, right?
Yes.
Finally, it really doesn't matter because if we have the conviction in what this
that
is,
expands
this is
to the universal knowledge. So if we say connect from all different religious say knowledge, and then that also speaks so well of everything is the same. That is one way of looking at, because we start off with one track of say learning, and then at some junction we start looking at other say ways of learning, and then we realize that all are the same. So that process has to go on in everyone's mind. Otherwise we stop in the same track and think that is the only thing, that is the only thing.
Yep.
Well, what matters is, what is the future? That's the only thing we need to worry about. Past is past, and if somebody says this is what is the past, we just take the face value of it, and then okay, we go on.
So again, the loop is the mind, right? If you are able to accept things at face value, you're more sorted.
Yeah.
And here we are with the ancient one, the highest of the high, and we're still battling with our egos. I mean, not egos, with logic. But anyway, that's on
You
a
know,
lighter note. Each, yeah.
this reminds me of a small story that I heard from where's the doctor's name? The Mandali, the female Mandali, the doctor. Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Doctor, she became a doctor, came back, and Baba said, join with us. Baba put her in some mission hospital. She thought she was going to work there forever, and then Baba said, come and join us, you know. So she joined. The first task Baba gave her is not to be a doctor, but to take care of the chickens. They used to have chickens in Maharajat, and she's in charge for taking care of the chickens. And she was wondering, you know, I studied all this doctor, and what am I doing with this chicken? You know, feeding the chickens, taking care of chicken, cleaning the area, and all that stuff. And one day she's out of the chicken feed. So she had to go and ask Baba, you know, we need to get some chicken feed. And then when she went to Baba's room, Baba was talking to, there is one gentleman from Andhra, Shastri. What's Shastri?
Multiple initials, GVLM or whatever. That
Some
guy?
Shastri. Yeah, Shastri. He was a professor and an expert in Bhagavad Gita, and he went and met.
Yeah, same person I'm thinking of. Yeah. Go
Baba
ahead.
was talking about seventh plane, all these four journeys, and all those things. And then she came in a frantic way. Baba, we are out of chicken feed, you know. And then Baba said, "See, and now I'm talking about seventh plane. Here I have to come down to this earth to relieve the solution how to feed the chicken feed."
Yeah.
Somehow I remembered that. Yeah.
Chicken reference, another
Yes.
chickish reference. So with that, let's continue. In
Yeah.
nothing ever happens.
One more
Yeah, go ahead, Mama.
thing which struck me here is that reference to archangel and angel. So this also I somehow feel like connecting to our different say devas and different ganas and all that who are all referred to in our Puranas and all that. So there everything is always expressed that they should become human beings, only then they can have realization, but they are stuck in those levels. So that reference connects to something like that. That
Yeah.
is my feeling. Yeah.
Very interesting, Mamaji. Very good find out. And in the latter pages, you know, I was always wonder who are these angels, who are these archangels, you know, Gabriel. And then in this book, I found out that they come directly from God.
Yes, yes.
They come directly from
So
God. They play a role for to help God, and then they have to go back to become one with the God. So they have to become a human being, and then they realize the God. I
yes,
thought that's very interesting thing that we noted down. Who is that? The American Hurricane Moore, the blind physician. He's, I believe, in his previous life, archangel. He came as a human being, and then yeah.
Is he alive? Is he still? I've
No,
heard the name.
he was
Okay.
there when Baba was there, so he came and visited in 62, in 65. I think he passed on. He wrote a book.
Okay.
Dr. Hurricane Moore. He's a chiropractor, not a physician. Chiropractor.
Okay. So hopefully he has got God realization, given that he came from archangel to take a human form with only that aspiration. Inshallah, Baba, that will happen. Let's continue. In nothing ever happens. and all journeys are imaginary, as all creation is a product of imagination. In the beginning of creation, the first drop began imagining innumerable nothings, and these first imaginings enveloped him in the gaseous fire, stage. Gas and light are one. The
Yeah,
original fire,
this is a very great expression, I think. Gas and light are same. So science is brought here. Energy and matter are the same. Things like that. Mm.
hmm, interesting. Yeah, gas and light. Yeah, in the original fire and the original light were one. To imagine how God slept in the beginning and how the chicken saw the light, imagine you're sleeping in a dark room and suddenly someone turns a light on overhead. You come out of sleep, deep, sound sleep. At first, you're not aware of the light itself, but of a hazy disturbance. That is the brilliance. When you finally open your eyes, you see light, and through that light, you see what is going on. The brilliance of the light no longer disturbs you because you see clearly what is happening. In an identical way, the original gas, the hazy disturbance called the dark mist, al ama of the beyond, and the original light, the dazzling brilliance called Tej, seen by the chicken, imagined by the first soul, were one and the same. Over eons and eons, in his way out of sound sleep, the first soul imagined six successive stages of gas. And in this manner, the six major stages of fire and gas in the mental and subtle worlds came into being. These six successive stages of gaseous light are Tej or Noor in the mental world as illumination, and in the subtle world are Pran as inspiration. The four planes of the subtle world contain 276 subtle gases, Pran itself, which is infinite energy. Each of the 276 subtle gases are shadows of each other, and the shadow of the 276th gas was the 277th gas, which is hydrogen. The seventh stage of the original gas was hydrogen, and the gases of the gross world, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc., made up of atoms. Imagining these gases of atomic particles, the first drop's form changed and it became gross. Mute, please.
Oh,
As,
sorry.
as soon as the first drop became gross matter, it was no longer able to return to the nothing. Because the gross world is out of the immediate domain of the original nothing, so the influence of the nothing was diminished. The mother hen did not care for the chicken when he left for the seventh time, because at that instant the drop entered the gross world, but the nothing continues in another sense, as unconscious, as unconsciousness to protect and provide for its first drop and every drop thereafter throughout the journey to consciousness, because the nothing is infinite. All the first drop's imaginings will never be anything or exist as something. They are all nothingness. So the first drop had to eventually realize the real nothing, which is nirvana, because there is nothing else to realize. In this way, the nothingness of the original nothing, Mother Hen, protected and guided the first drop, protecting and guiding each drop thereafter to know the real nothing, which is nirvana, to instantly become the real everything, nirvikalpa. There exists no substance in the nothing, as the foundation of nothing is imagination. Each drop in the ocean of nothing imagines differently, just as there are many human beings. Each individual mind thinks differently and hence infinite imaginings. There is no limit to imagination, as it can imagine anything and everything. So the imaginings of the drops in the ocean of nothing are without limit. When the original whim arose in that ocean, every drop began sounding out, I am nothing, I am everything. Then, instantaneously, movement began in the ocean, and the movement was infinite, as the innumerable drops began imagining innumerable possibilities. Anything, everything, because of the innumerable possibilities and the countless combinations for each, the drops of nothing began saying, I am this, I am that. When the mischievous chicken, who was the first drop, rose up through the flames and gases in the mental and subtle worlds into the gross as matter, he became conscious of all the innumerable imaginings of the innumerable drops in the ocean. Then the chicken discovered out of pain that he was hungry. Consequently, he now had a problem. Which one? Which one out of all those innumerable imaginings should I eat? Hunger itself was his problem. So he asked his companion, the gas, which one should I eat? But the gas deceived him. The gas deceived the mischievous one himself, telling him to eat innumerable different things. But the mischievous one believed the gas, and being deceived, ate innumerable times those things which he ought not to have eaten. And the gas continued to influence him deceitfully until his seventh adventure, when he became a man. His hunger grew and grew, and the pain increased, compelling him to indulge in more and more of the wrong things. Hunger itself was wrong, for it was desire. However, after the first man became subtle conscious during his eighth adventure, onward to his 13th adventure as mental conscious, the effect and influence, the deception itself, of the gas slowly diminished, and he desired fewer and fewer things. During the 13th adventure on the sixth plane, the deceptive influence of the gas disappeared completely, and his companion, the gas, left him alone. He then felt no hunger whatsoever, finding himself alone as never before, without any desire. He cried out, what should I do now? A voice came to him saying, eat, you eat yourself. He ate himself, and in so doing, found himself. He knew his self. At that moment, the mischievous chicken gained the divine knowledge of the infinite ocean and consciously realized he is eternally everything. Thus, through the medium of the nothing, the mischievous chicken, the first soul, gained knowledge of everything. By gaining the knowledge of himself as God and by becoming all knowing, he realized that it was he who was everything. When he knew everything instantaneously, he gained the infinite intelligence to use this knowledge. But in order for him to gain this knowledge, all creation had to come into being. In this great and vast universe of countless universes, there are now innumerable chickens, drops, who have come forth and followed that mischievous one. It is for the sake of them that he uses the infinite intelligence of his knowledge to help us attain what he knows.
See, here
After
is very interesting.
Mhm.
He ate himself. See, what does that mean? He hates himself. See, that's what we are Baba is suggesting us, right? So the I consciousness has to be eaten. All along, we have been living with I consciousness. Now, now we have to surrender everything I consciousness to Him. Then only we get the God realization. That is what is meant by eating yourself. Eat yourself.
Excellent. I was not able to catch that. That's a good. That's the correct explanation of eating oneself.
Yeah.
So dissolution of the ego, manonash, is eating oneself. Yeah.
Can you go back to one page before? There's one more point that was interesting. That's very interesting here.
Mhm.
Knowledge. Okay. Infinite knowledge. So gain the knowledge of it. Yeah, that is how he realizes the infinite knowledge. Then
So
he
he uses
realizes.
the word intelligence to be an aspect of knowledge. That's another observation.
Yeah. See, knowledge is always connected with the intelligence, right? Intellect
Yeah.
part of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me continue.
Mhm.
After completing the 14 adventures through evolution and involution to gain knowledge, the first drop became the ocean. The first soul became God conscious. The drop itself is never a drop, it is always the ocean. But because of imagination, the drop believes itself to be only a drop. In order to know itself as the ocean, it has to pass through 7 outer adventures in evolution and 7 inner adventures in involution to become the ocean that it is. Each drop becomes the ocean only after completing these 14 adventures, as he, the mischievous one, did in the very beginning. That mischievous chicken, Shaitan, that troublemaker, who in the very beginning of everything and nothing pushed his head up through the fire and gas, and who completed the 14 adventures, is called none else but the Ancient One. It is he, and only he, who comes back age after age to help us fellow mischievous chickens when we are in trouble and when the world is in a mess. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the mischievous chicken. So I think he goes through the story maybe twice, or is it thrice, through the poem, and it's, I think, delineated to explain better each time. And the theme is just that, right? The 6 times, and then the 7th attempt, the hen gives up, and then you continue to through the 14 journeys, and then you eat yourself, right? And upon eating yourself, you actually become the ocean.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so I'll pause here. Any comments on the chicken? By the way, I've seen this. I mean, it's a famous T-shirt, right? The mischievous chicken T-shirt in the Baba
Yeah.
world, and I've never figured what it meant till today. Good uh, coverage for that story.
Yeah. People from California wear these T-shirts.
Mhm.
Uh, I was also wondering what it was. Then I asked somebody. They said Baba drew this in Nothing and Everything because Baba Kalchuri used to come very regularly there. He used to connect a lot. When I was in India,
Okay.
I tried to contact Bhau Kalchuri, but he never had anything to do with me. But when I came to US, I mean, unbelievable how much he contacted him, and I was in contact with him. And yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, any
Uh,
comments?
y- Yes, the other aspect of eating yourself is, say, dropping the gross body, the subtle body, the mental body. So it is sort of devolution, or say, uh, going out of what you have accumulated. So something like sanskara, these are all accumulations which we try to give up. That is one way of eating ourselves.
Right,
Also.
right, right. Yeah.
Dissolution of bodies. A good way of
Yes,
understanding eating oneself.
How come Kama is
So
not talking today?
yeah, come on. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I'm
Kama,
here listening. I'm listening.
how come you're not opening your mouth? I want some instigation, you know.
Well,
I'm
today is
bored,
not the
Kama.
today is not the day to instigate you, I guess, or intimidate you.
okay.
I love you, Kama.
But
Today is a day to meditate, not to intimidate.
Meditate and
okay.
intimidate. Oh my goodness. Become a poet too.
No, I thought Kama will
No, but
bring in so much of connection with all we are reading here, to say different passages and pages of God speaks and discourses. Anyway, in a unified way, it brings everything together. Say that at the time of Vim, what happens, what is explained in God speaks, there is allusion or the, say, indication of seven gases and all that. So that is clarified so very well here in a different perspective.
Was that an attempt to provoke the agent provocator? Because Mama saying Kama, I expected many interventions was surprising. And Kama still doesn't seem to bite the bait.
No, Jay Baba. I think see. I have not had a chance to read this book, frankly. So I thought it was not appropriate for me to comment unless I had something to say. So I have not really read the book personally, like God Speaks or Discourses. Yeah. Jay Baba.
Okay, any comments on this analogous reference with the chicken, and what do you feel about the about this whole thing? Yeah, maybe you can summarize and give your comments.
Well, I think what Jay Baba, I think what Dr. Mama was saying, and also Ravi was describing, these are all analogies and metaphors to understand the metaphysical concepts of the Vim, the most original Vim. So I think that I can only say that, because I've not read it person myself, I won't be able to say much, but definitely it kind of crosses the T's and dots the I's, you can say that. And if Doc Makma is able to feel that, I think he's quite correct, So I think that because I believe this book was completed after Baba dropped his body, correct? If I'm not mistaken, Ravi.
Yes.
Right.
So definitely, there is a difference between writing a book, like, for example, when you read The Wayfarers, that is a book that Baba personally asked Dawkins to write the book about musk, because Dawkins used to say, Baba, you have done so many musk tours and we don't have any documentation. So Baba said, why don't you write it? And of course, Dawkins, being an Englishman and very detailed, did a tremendous job, and that would be a book to definitely read to understand the musk state and all the different planes, because during World War II, if you have observed, Baba did a lot of moving around, meeting Must. And we also know that Must Muhammad and Chatti Baba represented certain countries, actually. So that would be something for good read also, Jai Baba.
Yes. Indication for the next book to read. Good.
Sure. So from the chicken, let's go to the beyond state of God. If there are no more questions on this or comments on the chicken. Okay, so beyond state of God. Adventures begin in God and they end in God. Adventures start with consciousness and end with the consciousness of God is achieved. Sorry, adventures start with consciousness and end when the consciousness of God is achieved. All adventures are from unconsciousness to consciousness. In order to understand these 14 adventures of the mischievous chicken, one must go back to the beginningless beginning and begin with the original state of God, which is called the beyond beyond. The beyond beyond is the original sound sleep state of God, full of infinite vacuum. The beyond beyond is boundless space and spacelessness and contains infinity and finiteness, unlimitedness and limits. It is everything and nothing, and it is beyond everything and nothing. All things are contained within the beyond beyond, all light and all darkness, all knowledge and all ignorance, all consciousness and all unconsciousness. But in this original state of God, there is neither consciousness nor unconsciousness. The beyond beyond contains in its vacuum infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. But in this original state before the beginning, consciousness is not conscious of itself. This means that God does not know that He is God. Infinity does not know that it is infinite. Consequently, this beyond beyond is the state of God that cannot be explained, cannot be understood, and cannot be experienced. Everything is latent in the beyond beyond, but this all is neither everything nor nothing. In his original state, God is, but the everything in God is not. Nothing is, but this nothing in God is not. God in his original state is called Parabrahma, Paramatma by the Vedantists, Tadar Ahuramast by the Zoroastrians, and Vara ul Vara by the Sufis. For the sake of understanding, the ancient one now names the beyond state of God, the ocean. Ocean that is shoreless, bottomless, surfaceless, absolutely calm and still before there was a beginning. This original ocean is infinite and indivisible. And because it is infinite and indivisible, it contains everything. It contains all. But the infinite consciousness does not know that it is infinite consciousness. Infinite consciousness, being infinitely unconscious in this ocean, is not conscious of infinite knowledge, nor conscious of infinite power, nor of infinite bliss. Though this state, this ocean, contains everything, all knowledge, all power, and all bliss, it is the beyond state, meaning unconscious, unaware, and asleep to everything. Poor Paramatma, God, the infinite consciousness, is sound asleep, so deep in sleep that he is beyond himself. This is the is state of God. God is, but he is neither conscious nor unconscious of it. In that beyond ocean, there was infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. In that beyond ocean, there was the ocean of everything and the ocean of nothing. And through this ocean of everything, infinite consciousness manifested. And through this ocean of nothing, infinite unconsciousness manifested. Naturally, as soon as these two states of infinitude came into being, they no longer had the sound sleep attribute of the beyond God. However, the beyond God state continued to be as it always was, is, and will be, absolutely and totally immutable and independent. Nevertheless, the states of infinite consciousness, Paramatma, and infinite unconsciousness, Ishwar, came into what is known as the beyond God state. And though infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness remained forever contained in the beyond state, where everything is always contained, they have both come out of the beyond state into different realms of consciousness. How did infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness come out of the beyond ocean to begin with? It is all because of the whim, the lahar, and the two oceans, the ocean of everything and the ocean of nothing. The beyond ocean contains the ocean of everything and the ocean of nothing. And these are not two separate oceans, but one. It is stated this way by the ancient one so that the intellect can grasp the concept. Everything is everything and nothing is nothing. But they sustain each other and are infinitely interwoven, wave with wave, drop with drop. The ocean of everything and the ocean of nothing were lying still as one in the bosom of the beyond ocean. Then, without reason, without warning, without substance of any kind, a whim arose in the ocean of nothing. That whim gave rise to a question: who am I? And as nothing asked itself that question over and over again, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Movement began in the ocean of nothing. Nothing is nothing without substance. Therefore, its movements and whims are without consequence. But over ages and ages, that movement in the ocean of nothing created an impact on the ocean of everything. And that ocean of everything slowly awakened. When the ocean of everything was finally awake, it asked itself only one question: who am I? As soon as it asked itself that one question, it gave itself the only answer: I am God. An infinite consciousness was established in the ocean of everything. But the poor ocean of nothing, when it heard everything's question, who am I? It did not know that answer. Thus, infinite unconsciousness was established in the ocean of nothing. Nothing did not know the answer to everything's question. But the impact of that question on nothing was so great that nothing tried to answer it in innumerable ways. Thus, creation arose in the nothing. And the point at which everything's question was heard in the nothing was the Om point, out of which innumerable questions and answers poured into the ocean of nothing. All movements took place in infinite unconsciousness, and infinite consciousness cannot be affected by anything since it knows everything. God's state of infinite consciousness is named Parabrahma Paramatma in Vedanta, Allah in Sufism, and Ezdan in Zoroastrianism. This is the state of the Father. This divine state is of infinite consciousness of Paramatma, that is conscious God. In this divine state, Nirvikalpa, Soul is conscious of being God. Paramatma is in the conscious beyond, and God is not conscious of illusion. Paramatma is not conscious of being everything and everyone, for infinite consciousness is beyond everything. God's state of infinite unconsciousness is named Ishwar in Vedanta. Ishwar has three aspects: Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Mahesh, the dissolver. Thus, all creating of creation, all preserving of creation, and all dissolving of creation occurs within infinite unconsciousness, the domain of Ishwar. In the beginning of time, infinite consciousness was established as the divine state or seat of impersonal God, who had no consciousness of illusion. This seat of God is called Ars Se Maula, and this divine state remained to be realized, or the seat remained to be filled, until infinite consciousness was gained through the medium of infinite unconsciousness. Not only did infinite unconsciousness want to realize infinite consciousness, but infinite consciousness itself wanted to be realized. It was none else but the mischievous chicken who, pulled by that seat in the beginning, journeyed through 14 adventures in unconsciousness to occupy it. It was he who created the aspect of the personal God by realizing himself as none else but God. I think I'll stop at this point, and it could also be a point of discussion, because from the beyond God, which is formless, comes the concept of a personal God, a form and a relatable form, which is the personal God, right? So I think we will stop at this point and continue from here tomorrow morning. Is that fine? Any questions before we close?
Questionless ocean now. Okay.
Ocean of questions? That's my head.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we will stop here. And maybe if people, if Ashok and Sunil have a few minutes, you can stay back. We'll quickly sync up on Sunil what I've done on the tech, and Ashok we can talk about. After that, we can talk about the presentation or what you want to do. Would that be fine? Everybody's welcome to stick around. I'm just
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. Okay, great. So let me just stop.
Yeah, I'm okay. Karthik, I'm here.